Rain tapped gently against the window panes of the Wilson semi-detached home in Guildford, Surrey, a classic British suburban house with red brick walls, sash windows, and a modest front garden edged with lavender and boxwood hedges. Inside, the air smelled faintly of Earl Grey tea, burnt toast, and the lingering scent of fabric softener from that morning's laundry. It was one of those typical October afternoons in southern England, gray, damp, and quietly tense with the weight of unspoken expectations. In the living room, 16-year-old Emily sat cross-legged on the beige carpet. Her phone was propped against a cushion, scrolling through TikTok while her best mate, Chloe, ranted through her earbuds about a boy in their sixth form who'd ghosted her after the school disco. Outside, the occasional car hissed past on wet tarmac, and a blackbird chirped from the garden fence. Emily wore a soft gray cotton t-shirt tucked neatly into a pleated navy blue skirt, simple, practical, and very much in line with the understated British teen aesthetic of 2025, where comfort meets subtle style. Her dark hair was pulled high into a messy bun secured with a scrunchie, and her school blazer lay discarded over the armchair, still bearing the embroidered crest of Guildford High School for Girls, her scuffed black. Mary Jane's had been kicked off near the radiator. From the kitchen, her mother's voice cut through the hum of a kettle and the low drone of the dishwasher. "Emily, listen carefully. I've got that late meeting at the Royal Surrey Hospital. You must pick up Tommy from Little Oaks Daycare at 3:30 sharp. Don't be late. He gets anxious if no one's there." Emily barely looked up from her screen. Yeah, Mom, got it," she mumbled. Her thumbs kept flying across the screen, double tapping a video of a cat wearing a tiny Union Jack bandana. The crucial information, the vital instruction, was treated like just another piece of digital background noise. Her mother, Dr. Aisha Wilson, paused in the doorway, arms crossed over her NHS scrubs, a stethoscope dangling from her neck. At 42, she carried herself with the quiet authority of a senior pediatrician and the visible, deep exhaustion of a single working mother. "Emily, look at me," she commanded, her voice patient but firm, demanding her daughter's full attention. Emily sighed dramatically and met her mother's eyes, feigning patience and unspoken protest in her gaze. "I said I'll go," she replied. "Good, and no detours. Straight there. Straight home. And please put your phone away when you're walking. I don't want you distracted." "Mom, I'm not 5, Emily muttered, though she reluctantly slipped the phone into her skirt pocket. But even as she nodded, Emily's mind was already drifting back to Chloe's voice in her earbuds. The drama of the school disco. The warning, like so many before, slipped through her fingers like rainwater. She told herself she'd remember. She always did, eventually. School ended at 3:10 p.m., as it did most days across British secondary schools. The bell rang and students poured out of classrooms in a sea of blazers, ties, and backpacks. Emily lingered by the bike racks near the school gates, laughing with Chloe about Mr. Davies' awkward attempt at explaining quadratic equations. "Let's go to Costa," Chloe suggested, pulling her hood up against the drizzle. "My treat. I've got that new student voucher, buy one, get one free on lattes." Emily hesitated. Just for a second, she pictured Tommy's wide brown eyes waiting by the daycare gate, his little Spider-Man rucksack slung over one shoulder, a small, insistent image against the backdrop of the gray afternoon. But then Chloe tugged her sleeve. "Come on, you've been stuck at home all week doing revision," Chloe urged. "Live a little." "All right," Emily relented, the allure of coffee and gossip easily winning over the distant, abstract chore of her responsibility. "Just for half an hour, promise." They walked to the high street, past the newsagent with its racks of tabloids and lottery tickets, the co-op with its glowing sign, and the florist whose window displayed autumnal arrangements of chrysanthemums and eucalyptus. They ordered oat milk lattes and sat by the window, watching the rain blur the street outside. Time melted away in the warm buzz of caffeine, gossip, and the soft indie playlist humming from the cafe speakers. The promise of half an hour was slowly, carelessly forgotten. At 4:15 p.m., an hour past the appointed time, Emily's phone buzzed violently in her skirt pocket. She pulled it out. 3 missed calls from Mom. A text message flashed onto the screen. "Where are you?" "Tommy's still at daycare." "I'm on my way, but I told you." Her stomach dropped like a stone, the cold realization of her profound negligence hitting her like a physical blow. She'd completely, devastatingly forgotten by the time Emily sprinted home, her skirt damp from the drizzle, her heart pounding harder than her feet on the wet pavement. Her mother was already in the kitchen. Tommy was asleep on her lap, his tiny trainer still on, one lace untied, the sight of his vulnerability instantly piercing Emily's panic. The silence in the house was heavier than any shouting. "Mom, I'm so sorry," Emily began, breathless, her apology already feeling thin and inadequate. "Were you at Costa?" Her mother asked quietly, not looking up, gently stroking Tommy's damp, fine hair. Emily's throat tightened with shame. "I only meant to be 10 minutes. You left your brother waiting for over an hour." "Emily, alone, while you had a coffee," her mother stated, her voice cracking not with anger, but with profound disappointment and weariness. "Do you know what he said when I got there? Is Emily not coming? Did I do something wrong?" Emily's eyes stung. The image of Tommy, small and confused, believing her failure was his fault, was unbearable, I didn't think, she choked out. The admission a miserable truth. "That's the problem," her mother said, finally meeting her gaze. Her eyes were tired but sharp, carrying the weight of a 12-hour shift and a broken trust. "You don't think? Not about him, not about your responsibilities. You treat my words like background noise, like I'm just another app notification you can swipe away." Emily looked down at her scuffed school shoes, her cheeks burning with humiliation. She had no defense. "I'll do better," she whispered. "Better isn't enough," her mother said, standing slowly and carrying the sleeping Tommy to his room. "Actions have consequences, and in this house, we don't ignore family, especially not when someone depends on you." Her mother returned to the living room, her expression calm but utterly resolute. From the hall cupboard, she took out a wooden hairbrush, the same one she'd used only twice before, years ago, when Emily was younger and had lied about stealing sweets from the corner shop. "This isn't punishment out of anger," her mother said, her voice steady, almost gentle, devoid of heat, filled only with sober purpose. "It's because you broke trust, and trust is the foundation of this family. When you choose your phone over your brother, you're telling him he doesn't matter." Emily's breath hitched. She knew the rules. In their household, modern, educated, multicultural, and held together by her mother's sheer will since her father passed when Emily was 8, disrespect and negligence were not excused by age or mood. Discipline wasn't about shame. It was about accountability and the vital protection of family bonds. "Bend over the arm of the sofa," her mother instructed. Emily obeyed, her gray t-shirt pulled taut across her back as she leaned across the soft cushions. The first swat landed with a sharp thwack. She gasped, the sudden stinging reality cutting through her lingering self-pity. The second stung worse. By the fifth, tears streamed down her face, not just from physical pain, but from the searing, overwhelming shame of her failure. Each strike echoed the weight of her forgotten duty. Tommy waiting in the rain. Mom rushing across town after a 12-hour shift. Her own carelessness. When it was over, her mother knelt beside her, placing a steady, warm hand on her shoulder. "Do you understand why?" Emily nodded, wiping her cheeks with the sleeve of her t-shirt. "Because I let Tommy down. And you?" "Yes," Emily whispered. And her mother said softly, her voice filled with an unwavering, fierce devotion, because I love you too much to let you become someone who forgets what truly matters. Emily stayed in her room for an hour, staring at the rain streaks on the window. Florence and the Machine played quietly, a low-key soundtrack to her turmoil. A framed photo of her and Tommy at Brighton Pier adorned the walls, Tommy laughing, she pushing him on a swing, looking happy and connected. She thought about how he always called her Emmy and how he'd drawn her a birthday card last year with the words, "Best sis in the world," scrawled in crayon. Her negligence hadn't just been a mistake. It had been a betrayal of the small, trusting person who depended on her. Quietly, she crept into his room. He was awake now, playing with toy cars on the rug, lining them up like commuters on a London underground platform, his imagination already bustling. He looked up, eyes wide and brown, instantly forgiving. "Hi, Emmy." She sat beside him, pulling him into a hug, breathing in the scent of his small, familiar self. "I'm really sorry I forgot you today," she whispered into his hair. He shrugged, pushing a red car forward. "Already moving past the pain. Mom said you were busy." "I wasn't busy with anything important," she whispered, the new, true lesson settling in her heart. "You're important." He leaned his head against her shoulder, a gesture of pure, trusting affection. "Can we watch Bluey tomorrow?" "Only if I pick you up myself," she promised, kissing the top of his head. Later that evening, her mother brought her a mug of hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, their old comfort ritual, a symbol of unconditional love and quiet reconciliation. They sat at the kitchen table, the same one where they'd done homework, argued over chores, and celebrated GCSE results. "I know you're growing up," her mother said, stirring her tea, her voice now calm and conversational. "But growing up doesn't mean leaving responsibility behind. It means carrying it better, even when no one's watching. I'll set 3 alarms tomorrow and leave my phone in my bag," Emily stated, the plan already solidifying, the intention to be better already forming tangible actions. Her mother smiled faintly, a small sign of returning warmth. "Good. Because I do trust you, Emily, but trust is a garden. It needs tending." The next afternoon, Emily stood outside Little Oaks daycare at 3:25 p.m., her gray t-shirt dry under a light barber-style raincoat, her navy blue skirt crisp from the iron. She checked her watch 5 minutes early. Her phone was tucked safely in her bag, switched to silent. When the door opened and Tommy bounded out, his face lit up like the London Eye at New Year's. "Emily." She took his hand, holding it firmly. The connection was real, immediate, and infinitely more valuable than any digital interaction. "Ready to go home?" "Yeah, I drew you a picture today. It's us at the park." "You're pushing me on the swing." As they walked down the wet pavement past blooming hydrangeas and parked foxholes, Emily held his hand a little tighter. The sky cleared just enough for a sliver of sun to break through the clouds, casting golden puddles on the pavement. She didn't check her phone once, and for the first time in weeks, she felt like the big sister Tommy believed her to be, carrying her responsibility with quiet strength, finally understanding that her little brother and the love he represented was the most important thing she had to tend. Closing parenthesis, Dr. Wilson used the phrase, "Trust is a garden. It needs tending." What does that metaphor mean to you personally when applied to family relationships? Do you think Emily's mother made the right decision by choosing a consequence that was firm and immediate, given the seriousness of Emily's negligence toward her little brother? Why or why not? The mother felt Emily treated her words like an app notification you can swipe away. How much do you think modern digital distraction contributes to this kind of forgetfulness in real life? If you were Emily's age, what consequence or action do you think would have taught you the importance of that responsibility most effectively? What small action did Emily take the next day that convinced you she had truly learned her lesson?